Good morning, everyone, and welcome into Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we have some football to talk about today. We've got some NFL news, we've got some NFL rumors, and it's Thursday, so we have some football tonight that we are going to preview. So why don't we sit back, relax, sip our coffee, and enjoy the show. How is it going, everyone? Good morning, Don Juan the Barber on Instagram. Good morning, Corey Walters. Good morning, Anthony. I'm sorry, Matika? I think that's probably close. I don't know. I could have just gone with first names. Could have just gone with first names there. But good morning, everyone. Glad to see you here in the chat. Let's get it going. Let's talk about some football. And we'll start with the first story. The first kind of biggest story right now is that Brock Purdy has landed on concussion protocol. This comes after he had a rough game against the Vikings through 2 interceptions. And then actually, from what I gathered, he actually self-reported this concussion on the airplane home from Minnesota, put onto the protocol. I believe only one player, maybe 2 players this season have landed on concussion protocol in a week and then went on to play the game. And given that he is a quarterback, he will probably be out this week, which means it is time for Sam Darnold. But before we talk about Sam Darnold, I do want to show you, as it has been sourced, the video, the hit, if you will, that caused this concussion for Brock Purdy. Let me pull that up for you guys. It's not like too gruesome or anything. Here we go. It's just he was trying to do the QB sneak, and as you see right over the top, just absolutely hit by Jordan Hicks right into the head. I would probably guarantee that is exactly the hit that caused this concussion, and we wish him the best. Hopefully he can return in 2 weeks. However, I've got to say, I do want to go on record here. I feel like we've seen this story before where a 49ers quarterback goes out, the backup comes in, starts playing well, and then there's a controversy here. And I know that Shanahan really did like Sam Darnold. And I know it's possible, given everything that we've seen within this organization, that Sam Darnold will go out there Sunday against the Bengals, play well, and win this game. I have no doubt in my mind that that's probably what's going to happen here. It's just some random Darnold voodoo magic, 49er Shanahan voodoo magic going on. I'm not expecting a bad game from Sam Darnold at all. And if you look at his numbers last year in Carolina, given the situation that he was in, it really wasn't that bad. Now, it's taken forever for Darnold. He was the 103 in 2018. I saw 2018 when I double-checked that. I was like, wow, it's really been that long. But it has. But if you go look at his numbers at Carolina, like I was talking about for a second there, in Week 12 against the Broncos, 17 points, 12 points against the Seahawks, 13 points against the Steelers, and then 22 points against the Lions and 23 points against the Buccaneers, 341 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game against the Buccaneers. Pretty good game for him. We randomly see some sort of Sam Darnold resurgence every year. It sounds like it's going to be this week against the Bengals. I'm definitely stashing him. I know that we're all sold on Brock Purdy, but I do still think that a controversy could arise out of this if he plays well. That just seems to be what happens in San Francisco. Not saying it should happen, but it could happen every year. With Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance, and then Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance, and then Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo, and now potentially Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy. Something to keep your eye on here. Very excited to see how Sam Darnold can play. Hopefully, but also wishing the best for Brock Purdy for sure. Real quick, I see a question here. Would you pick up Darnold or Mayfield and play them over Geno Smith? No, I mean, I'm probably just going to play Geno Smith. Probably just going to roll with Geno Smith, but I do think, maybe worth picking up some Darnold. But it sounds like this is a single quarterback league, so you're probably fine, Papa Bear. Just roll with your Geno. The other big story that came out yesterday, injury-wise, is that Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert did not practice yesterday with an injury. Raheem Mostert had an ankle injury. Tyreek Hill did not practice with a hip injury. And this one seems a little bit more concerning. Mostert, also seemed that concerning. From what I gathered, it wasn't a veteran rest day. Like both of these are some actual injuries that they're going to have to be playing through or just working through this week in practice. But what's weird about the Tyreek Hill incident is that Tua Tagovailoa went on to say after practice, had a quote, basically somewhere down the line, we're going to get Tyreek Hill back. And when I hear that quote, that makes me a little bit worried. That makes me think that he's not playing this week. We'll keep our eye on it some more tomorrow's episode for sure as we preview Sunday, as we talk about all the injuries. I'm sure we'll have some more information out there, especially if he doesn't practice again today. But from what it's looking like, Tyreek Hill is probably not going to be out there this week, and potentially Raheem Mostert won't be out there either. And this is against the Patriots in a divisional matchup. I mean, they need it. I know that the Dolphins are super good and should probably beat the Patriots, but we just saw what they did against the Bills. And now if they don't have Tyreek Hill or Raheem Mostert, I mean, the Patriots have a real shot to run away with this one. But I do want to say Jalen Waddle, of course, going to be a great start in this situation. And also Cedric Wilson, as we talked about on Tuesday's show, I believe, with the waiver discussion, Cedric Wilson is going to be the guy that steps up here. He just makes big plays. That's what he does. Even in his time in Dallas, he had that one like 2-touchdown, 100+ yard game. I could see that happening, right? Especially against the Patriots. If Tyreek Hill's out there, you already know Bill Belichick's going to come up with some game plan to keep Jalen Waddle under wraps, which would mean it would have to be Durham Smythe, Cedric Wilson, and if Raheem Mostert's not out there, Jeff Wilson making some noise. So if Jeff Wilson is still available in your more shallow league, go pick him up in case of this Raheem Mostert. In your deeper leagues, or maybe even just your general leagues, go pick up Cedric Wilson because it's looking like he might be a little bit of a sneaky start this week. And while on the topic of the Dolphins, they are going to be the in-season Hard Knocks team. Very fun to watch. I'm excited for that one. I think it'll be cool to see how Mike McDaniel is on a regular basis. Excited to just see all really the dynamics in the Miami Dolphins. That's a very cool team right now, obviously on the offensive side of the ball, but even on defense with Jalen Ramsey and all the other star-studded corners that are there in that room. So could be fun to watch. I'm excited. Now, Tua Tagovailoa is not excited. He is probably the most private person in the NFL. And I didn't know this really. I was just reading a Reddit post about this, how Tua went out and said when he found out, obviously they tell you in like a little bit of a team meeting. He said that was not my best body language when I found out we would be on Hard Knocks. And then, all the comments are just talking about how private he is. I had no idea that people, apparently, like he has even like gone so far as to like try to make sure people don't know he's married, didn't even want people to know he had a kid. The only reason people even found that out is they got a random camera shot of the wife and kid waiting for him at the end of the tunnel after one game last season. Apparently he was upset about that as well. And the marriage itself had been hidden for years. Tua never talked about it. No one knew. And some jackass went through court records on Twitter and tweeted out his marriage license a couple seasons ago, maybe last season. And I just think that's honestly what a world we live in where somebody cares so much about their team's quarterback and what's going on in his private life that they have to dig through court records to dig up a marriage license on Tua Tagovailoa. Very, very interesting. Had no idea he was this private of a person. I think that's cool and unique. And so it'll be interesting to see when I hear all that, how Hard Knocks will affect his play. I mean, everything's going to be under a microscope. There's going to be cameras on every single play, every single interview, every single practice, probably even sometimes outside of the practice, for like team dinners and maybe even family stuff, depending on how far they want to go with this. So could be interesting, could be a true test of mental fortitude for Tua Tagovailoa this season with this going on. So keep your eye on this for sure. We could be seeing, maybe just a little bit of him being in his head. Obviously, I'm not taking this opportunity to sell him anything, and I don't think that's obviously something to write home about and be like, oh, well, Tua Tagovailoa is going to be on Hard Knocks. He's private. He doesn't like cameras. He's going to be a bad quarterback now. But I am just curious to see if that's possible. So I am definitely keeping a close eye on him once they start getting this going over the next couple weeks to just see how he's playing, see how he's handling all the spotlight. It could be a collapse of this Dolphins organization. And I mean, hey, one bad thing in bringing in Chase Claypool, one distraction there, another distraction in bringing in all these cameras. So Dolphins, maybe not going to be as hot of a team at the end of the year as originally hoped. Now, we're nearing this trade deadline, and we keep hearing rumors. We've discussed some already, but here's a couple new ones. First off, Hunter Renfro. Hunter Renfro is looking like he will be the Raiders wide receiver that needs to be moved. I like that a lot. This is per Schultz report. He said the Raiders and Hunter Henry appear motivated to get a trade done. They've never been on the same page, and Las Vegas will attempt to find a suitor before the deadline. I like that a lot. I mean, I'm a Hunter Renfro guy. We talked about it in the offseason. I felt like, he's a really good football player. He's shown it. He was a wide receiver 11 2 years ago and very good in college, an excellent route runner. Derwin James is on record calling him one of the best route runners in the entire league. So I'm just very shocked at the usage. I remember when the Raiders brought in Josh McDaniels, I was like, Hunter Renfro is going to be the next Wes Welker. He's going to get utilized in this insane slot role. He's going to get so many targets. But that hasn't been the case. They brought in Devontae Adams, and then they brought in Jacoby Myers, and they went out and drafted a tight end that also works over the middle of the field with Michael Mayer. And so Hunter Renfro has been limited to nothingness, and I would like to see him traded. I don't know where I would like to see him go. I mean, basically my answer to where Hunter Renfro should go is anywhere but the Raiders. I mean, I think that he could be utilized on any team for the most part. Better than he has been, and I would probably be using this opportunity to buy him now. I do definitely believe in the talent of Hunter Renfro. He is just a scrappy football player, hungry for success, knows what he's doing. I like Hunter Renfro, so I'm trading for him in fantasy football right now in hopes that he gets traded to a good team. I mean, off the top of my head, let's see, what's a team that could use a slot receiver? I mean, maybe the Bills. The Bills could be very, very interesting, especially with the Dawson Knox injury. We could see Hunter Renfro being sent to the Bills. I know we're all asking for another wide receiver there. Why not Buffalo? So go send out some offers for Hunter Renfro. Another trade rumor that is starting to surface, and this is one that's kind of been rumbling all offseason, preseason, really all season in general, as the Tennessee Titans organization is in this weird kind of crossroad about where they need to go as a franchise. And Derrick Henry has always kind of been on the table. Him, Ryan Tannehill, maybe even now I'm hearing that DeAndre Hopkins might just be sent away again as well, as they just aren't in the hunt that they should be. So with Derrick Henry, it is looking like the most recent suitor, based on reports, is the Baltimore Ravens. And I've got to say, there is not a better situation for Derrick Henry in the NFL than the Tennessee Titans. There is not. If I'm a Derrick Henry owner, which I am in a couple redraft leagues, I unfortunately don't have him in any dynasty. I would like to. I still firmly believe in the king. But I don't necessarily want Derrick Henry anywhere else but the Titans. I really don't. The Ravens, I guess, are close. But it's just not the same. It is just not the same. Derrick Henry is the type of running back that needs 25 or more carries a game. His success is predicated on breaking the defense down. Inside carry after inside carry, hard hit after hard hit, making the defenders scared to tackle you when it comes into the third or fourth quarter, grinding out these games. The Ravens don't do that. And, well, they do that. But they do it with Lamar Jackson, and they're doing it fine enough with Gus Edwards, with Justice Hill, with Keaton Mitchell if he returns. Yes, of course, Derrick Henry would be a boost, but I do think that Lamar Jackson would limit his ceiling. I don't think we would get a 30-carry, 200-yard, 3-touchdown game from Derrick Henry on the Ravens. I don't think we would. I mean, you could get, a 100-yard, 2-touchdown maybe, off of 20 carries, maybe, but probably just a 1-touchdown guy. I mean, we're seeing this Ravens offense not even score that many points. So I think ultimately it would be a lot better for the Ravens than it would be for Derrick Henry in fantasy. Now, if he's moved, it's probably still fine. Like I said, I still believe in him. He's still one of the best running backs in the NFL. I just don't think there's a better situation out there than the Tennessee Titans. I mean, he is the offense, and he wouldn't be the offense really anywhere else. So I'm not really hoping he gets moved if I own Derrick Henry, but Ravens wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but it definitely does limit his ceiling. I would definitely say, as I'm reading about this, the sentiment seems to be that if he goes to the Ravens, it's going to get better. I firmly don't believe that. So I might, if that happens, sell Derrick Henry. I just sell Derrick Henry because there's going to be a lot of hype around that. They're going to be calling the Ravens a Super Bowl contender. They're going to call Derrick Henry, the best running back ever kind of stuff. There's going to be so much hype swirling if the Derrick Henry trade does happen. So I would look to trade him if it does happen. But to me, hopefully it doesn't. I still want him on the Titans. And finally, Kyler Murray, full participant in yesterday's practice on Wednesday, looking on track to be fully activated either this week. I mean, it should be this week. If I'm the Cardinals, I'm doing it this week. But at the very least, definitely next week. Kyler Murray is looking to return very, very soon. So those of you stashing him on your IR, start figuring out who you're going to have to drop to move him back in, and potentially start thinking about who you could shop him for. I know I was sending out some offers because I need a running back. So I was sending Kyler Murray out for some running backs last week when the practice window was open and the hype started to build around him. So I think he's definitely a sell candidate with the hype. If you have, like, in one quarterback leagues, if you've just been stashing him for some value and you have another option. But if you don't have another option, he's still probably a buy on the other way. Kyler Murray is whatever you want him to be right now. You could use him to get yourself a piece, or you could probably buy Kyler Murray for a reasonable price, because Kyler Murray, when healthy, is one of the best fantasy football quarterbacks out there, and it really isn't even that close. Even his rookie season, he finished with the 11th most points per game. His next season, 3rd most points per game. Next season, 4th most points per game. And last year, 7th most points per game in only 11 games played. An electric football player, multiple skill sets beyond just throwing the ball. Great arm, great scrambler, quick wheels, great understanding of the offense. Really, everything is good for Kyler Murray. So if you need a quarterback, he is a medium-priced option that could take you over the top. So I'm buying him and I'm selling him, depending on my team. Go get Kyler Murray if you need a quarterback. If you've got Kyler Murray and don't need a quarterback, sell it. All right. That is all I have for news right now. So why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about Thursday Night Football. But before we do that, let's hear from the Podfather about DFS Dominator. Maybe. Okay. We are not going to hear from Podfather about the DFS Dominator. It is not letting me play an ad. So let's just preview some Thursday. Sorry about that. I don't know where I cut out, but I honestly also don't even know what happened. My Wi-Fi stopped working on my computer, but not my phone. I was here chatting with Instagram, and it showed me on the screen for a long time. I don't. Did you guys get any of my Kyler Murray discussion? Because I was dishing out some good Kyler Murray stuff. Where did we end? Because I don't know what happened, and I'm gonna probably be laggy now. What I decided to do was just oh, did it play the ad? Did it played the ad? Okay, cool. We'll take it then. There's no way the only thing you heard was me saying good morning. No way. No way. Okay, whatever. If you guys got the ad, whatever. We're just gonna talk Thursday Night Football. That's where I'm at in my head. Let's do it. Let's do it. Where is my? I hate when things close. StreamYard just deletes all your overlays. Hold on. Got to make sure the production value is here. There it is. The Buffalo Bills logo and the Buccaneers logo. Sorry about that. Genuinely don't know what happened. I just went and unplugged my Ethernet cord, and now we're just rolling with Wi-Fi. So all I said was full practice for Murray. Basically, on Kyler Murray, for the YouTube audience, Instagram heard everything. I was saying, if you've been holding on to Kyler Murray basically all season and you have yourself another quarterback that you're fine relying with, I am totally okay taking Kyler Murray and selling him for a piece that you need. Like, for example, I have Kyler Murray in a league and I need a running back. So I've been sending out Kyler Murray because I also have Trevor Lawrence. And it's just like I got Kyler Murray because he was kind of free in the single quarterback league. But if you need a quarterback, I also think Kyler Murray is very attainable based on his production. He was 11th in points per game his rookie season, but every year after that, he was top 10. Third points per game his second season, fourth his third season, and last year 7th in points per game with only 11 games played. He's a very electric football player, very, very good when healthy. So if you need a quarterback, a cheap option, but also if you don't need a quarterback and you have him, you could sell him for a decent return. Just all comes down to your roster build. Now for Thursday Night Football, we have the Buffalo Bills facing off against the Buccaneers. The Bills right now are 8.5-point favorites with 43.5 points total. Like, that's the total. I will say this game is very interesting to me. I don't necessarily know why it's a primetime game. I saw it was a primetime game, and it was like, this is a weird one. I don't know if I'm very excited for it, but it could turn into a good game. What it's going to come down to me is Vita Vea's, if Vita Vea is playing. Right now, Vita Vea is a game time decision, but he is really going to be what can make this game close to me. I think that if Vita Vea plays, it'll make it hard for the Bills to get into rhythm. Vita Vea is just such a good run stuffer, and Josh Allen won't really been able to go into the middle of the line. Won't really be able to run at Vita Vea. Latavius Murray won't really be able to do it. James Cook won't really be able to do it. So with that being said, I'm expecting a pretty decent, Stephon Diggs game, Gabe Davis game, maybe, but I don't necessarily like starting Gabe Davis unless it's a shootout, and I don't think this will turn into a shootout. I do think that the Buccaneers can cover that 8.5, mostly because of how the Bills have been playing. I mean, they've been in some close games the past few weeks and aren't looking right. And so I think the Buccaneers could keep this close, but ultimately I do think the Bills will win. And I also, looking at this 43.5, and I think I would take the under. I think that this has like a 20-17 written all over it, 21-14, 21-17, just one of those kind of low scoring 20s, maybe high teens for one of the other teams. Not expecting too many points scored in this one. I do think it'll be pretty slow, but if there is a lot of points scored, it will be a total dismantling of the Buccaneers by the Bills. It will be like a 50-10 type game from the Bills. I just don't necessarily see that happening. Let's talk a little bit about how these teams rank against positions. Right now, the Bills per sleeper are 3rd against quarterbacks, 24th against running backs, 14th against wide receivers, and 10th versus tight ends. So basically what that means is I'm expecting a Rachaad White game. I'm expecting a Rachaad White game in this one. I think that Rachaad White is going to get a ton of dump-off passes, especially if they're going to be playing catch-up to the Buffalo Bills. With them not being good against running backs, I think that Rachaad White can use this opportunity to get back on track and help meet some of the expectations that we had for him. And I also expect Mike Evans to score another touchdown. And I expect Mike Evans to keep things going today. Mike Evans is just playing at a really good level right now and matches up well against this Buffalo Bills defense. On the other side, the Buccaneers, according to Sleeper, are 7th against running backs, 9th against tight ends, 12th against wide receivers, and 9th against quarterbacks. Basically, the Buccaneers are top 10 against every single position so far this year. They are a stingy defense, and that is why ultimately I think it could be close. If Vita Vea plays, I'm not excited about James Cook tonight. I don't see much receiving upside. I also don't see much rushing upside in that case, and which is why I said a little bit ago, if anything, I'm expecting more of a Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs type game tonight. And maybe Dalton Kincaid, but the Buccaneers have been pretty good against tight ends, so that will be something really worth monitoring. If Dalton Kincaid can have a good game against the tight ends, or against the Buccaneers, then he has arrived, even with this Dawson Knox injury. Like I said yesterday, I'm pumping the brakes a little bit on the hype. Of course, I'm excited, but I'm not going out there and screaming from the rooftops that Dalton Kincaid is a league-winning tight end yet. I honestly don't see him being that good. Do I think he'll finish top 10? Yeah, probably. But outside of that, I think that we're still not going to have all the best weeks. But this will be a big test, right? I'm excited to talk about it tomorrow morning to really see how it goes. If he has a good game, I'm definitely fully on board the Dalton Kincaid train. Now, before I send you guys out of here, let me go ahead and share with you my Underdog ticket and my DraftKings lineup. I don't normally hit these, but this was kind of just in my head. I had Rachaad White over 22.5 receiving yards. I went with the receiving yards total than the receptions total just because I feel like it'll be easier for him to reach 22.5 yards. I want to say the receptions was 4.5. And I feel like, that was a very good line. Like right at 5 is about what I would expect from him, which makes me not want to touch that. But 22.5 receiving yards, I think I'll take it. Dalton Kincaid, I'm doing higher than 37.5 receiving yards. I want to say kind of the same thing. The receptions was like 5. And I don't know, that just felt too close for me. But I do think, especially with the type of tight end that he is, that he's a little bit more of a wide receiver type of tight end, just running some actual routes. I do think he could reach that 37.5 receiving yards. Mike Evans, 10 fantasy points. That one felt easy to me. I'm expecting a pretty decent Mike Evans game tonight. If anything, the Buffalo Bills are a little bit better against the slot wide receivers. So Chris Godwin, if anything, might get shut down, but not Mike Evans. Mike Evans, like I said, I believe will score a touchdown, but I also just think he'll have a good game in general. 10 fantasy points felt low. And finally, Latavius Murray, lower than 35.5 rushing receiving yards. This could end up biting me. I went lower before I saw that Vita Vea was a game time decision. I figured he was playing. If Vita Vea is playing, I don't see this happening at all. That I don't see him reaching that rush yards, and that's why I took the lower. I think he'll still come close to it regardless. I think, he should get 25 to 30, but we all know he's more of a first down, touchdown type of guy. I know he's getting some extra usage, but the Tampa Bay rush defense is really good. So with Vita Vea out there, so it could be interesting. Something to keep your eye on. I wish I didn't submit this ticket already. I wish I waited to see if Vita Vea was playing. And finally, this is my DraftKings lineup. Like I said, I'm expecting a Rachaad White game. That's the one I'm latching onto. And so I said, why not? I'm going to make Rachaad White my showdown captain, see what could happen. I mean, DraftKings is full PPR. So if he's going to get some receiving work like I expect him to, he should be a decent captain. Maybe not the highest scorer on the slate, but I think he'll give me a decent enough floor to actually get me in the money. And then that just opened up the door for me to get the rest of these players that I think will be really good, like Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Mike Evans. And then just rounded out the roster with Cade Otton, who I think is a good value at 3,000. He's had a couple games this season over 10 points. I think he could have another today against the Bills. That's their weakness, right? Is that's kind of the one position that they don't really do much against, the tight end. So I think Cade Otton could get himself a few receptions tonight. And then Deontay Hardy. We've kind of been hinting at him all week, but even all season, if you go look at our DFS Dominator, Deontay Hardy is almost always a really good value, is almost always projected over some players that are more expensive than him, like Khalil Shakir, for example. Deontay Hardy is used, and I wouldn't be surprised if Deontay Hardy ends up as a red zone threat in lieu of Dawson Knox, just because he's this short route yardage kind of guy that can get open in the smaller areas. So I think Deontay Hardy could score either a touchdown tonight or 4 or 5 receptions. I think that is something well on the table for him. So only for $1,000, I figured why not? He'll be my cheap option to round out the lineup. So feel free to copy this. I only throw these on 10 cents. I don't throw much money on the DFS, but fun to talk about, fun to show. Do we have any questions? I don't really think I see a couple here. I saw a couple questions. Let's answer those. And then yeah. Thank you for tuning in as always. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I really need an RB2. Should I hold Roschon Johnson or Spears, or should I start Henderson, Wilson Jr., or DeMarcado? Well, I guess just keep your eye on this Raheem Mostert injury. If Raheem Mostert is out, you've definitely got to start Jeff Wilson. And I think you need to be holding on to both Roschon and Spears. Looking like Spears is going to have a little bit more short-term ceiling, but I do definitely still believe in Roschon Johnson long-term. And this season, I do still think that Roschon Johnson can happen. But Tyjae Spears probably a bit more likely. So you could go with Spears there. And then Chef says that he'd use the Devontae tackles. Solo tackles is at 5.5. That's a good one. That's a really good one. He should get way more than 5.5 tackles, especially with Josh Allen. I mean, he should pretty much tackle all of Josh Allen's scrambles, essentially. And that looks like it. Hey, I got Anthony's last name right. Nice. Nice. Oh, wait, who will have a better fantasy day, Bryce Young or Stroud? This is a good question. I'm excited to talk about this for sure tomorrow. This is one of the games I'm most excited for. As we know, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are really, really good friends. They've been friends since middle school, I believe, is how long they've been friends, from like a quarterback camp or something like that. They've known each other for a very, very long time. Very, very close. And so I do think that this game will be Bryce Young's best game of the season. I really do think he's going to be fired up to play well. They're coming out of the bye week too, getting ready for this one. I think the Panthers should look good, and so should the Texans, right? I mean, so should the Texans. So I'm expecting a very good game here. This is probably the one I'm attacking on DFS. I think a lot of people will be avoiding it. I don't think the total is that high, but I am liking this game a lot. Who will have a better day? Probably Stroud. Jeremy Chin just landed on IR, so it's not like that Panthers defense is any good right now. So yeah, give me Stroud for the better day, but I do definitely think Bryce Young will have a good one. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This was yet another episode of The Wake and Take. I was Jason. You guys were a fantastic audience. Have a terrific Thursday and a wonderful rest of your week. Have a good one. Peace.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.